Hey, so this is Charles Erickson. You guys may have noticed that. Uh, I'm not on here a lot, and if you know me or you followed my situation for a while, this isn't anything new, so uh, it's probably going to be boring, so you're probably not going to want to watch it. Really, the reason that I'm doing this video, and I really haven't done, much social media since I've been out of prison. I haven't, uh, I've done like two other videos. One was kind of just like a thank you to everybody that supported me when I was in prison, and one was mostly about the war on drugs and how it's affected this country. And that was the thing that I noticed most when I was in prison. Um, Even though I shouldn't have been there and I didn't have a drug case. So the reason that I'm kind of doing this video um, is really kind of just my last attempt to put my situation um, and my actions and the things that I said into context. And I haven't really felt the need to do that. um, because I wasn't really completely aware of all of the podcasts and TV things and things like that that have been done on my case over the years. And I haven't really looked, like I haven't I've kind of like, I don't even think I've Googled my name until recently, and I saw some of the things that popped up, and really, uh, there were a couple things I was aware of that I checked on, but some of some of this stuff that I've become aware of is because random people in my life have Googled my name and been like, "Oh, have you seen this or have you heard this?" And then I looked at it or I listened to it, and I became frustrated again, like I've become many times over the years, with incomplete, um, shows on my case, um, where they leave things out, whether, I don't know if it's intentional or unintentional, or they don't have time to get into all the details, or in some cases, some people have made things up. And when 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 you're in the public eye, in my case, it really shouldn't be anymore. I mean, there are a lot of other cases where people are still in prison, and like I said before, there are a lot of people in prison who are technically guilty, um, of nonviolent drug crimes that shouldn't have been in prison either. And there are a lot more of those people, and so, um, the focus really should be on other things and other problems. And so, this video is just kind of for like the random person that Googles my situation, um, because a lot of these other podcasts or documentaries or TV shows are not completely right, or they don't include everything that I think should be included. And when you're in the public eye, it's really hard to ignore when people are talking about you. And especially if it's in an incomplete or erroneous way, it's really hard to just say, "Oh, well, that's okay." And when you have people in your life that that are like listening to these things and watching these things, it's really frustrating. And I've had some people say that in regard to my situation, that and they understand I'm innocent, and they think that I should only apologize, and that any public statement I make should really only be an apology, and that I shouldn't explain the situation, or explain my actions or why I said the things that I said, and that I don't have a right to. And that's really disconcerting to me, especially when there are people that have talked about this over the years in ways that are unfair to me, in incomplete ways, and some people have even made things up, and they're making money off of it. So the idea that I don't have a right to talk about my own situation is crazy. And I have apologized, and I'll get to that in a second. I have apologized. Um, if people aren't aware of that, I've apologized to everybody that I can apologize to. I've I can't talk to Ryan because I'm on parole. It's one of the stipulations of my parole, and I'm I think that his attorneys insisted he not talking to me, which I completely understand. So I haven't been able to apologize to him personally. Uh, I can't. I don't think like send messages through this. Bill Ferguson did visit me in prison, and I was able to apologize to him. Uh, and that that felt felt good. To being able to apologize to Ryan's family, and Bill's really understanding, and especially for being Ryan's dad. Uh, he's one of the only people that has said to me, "Hey, listen, I understand that you were blacked out, so I understand why you took a plea agreement." And not a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people don't feel that way. And um, it OCD aside or whatever, because I don't really know how much that's above my pay grade to know how much of an effect that had on me when I'm blacked out in the area, and people are saying various things or putting us at the scene or whatever. Uh, you know, it 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 was it did make me feel good, and not like so alone for somebody to say that they understand where I'm coming from. But I have apologized to everybody that I can apologize to, for lying. And I'm not trying to make excuses. I was forced to lie. They told me they were going to execute me if I didn't lie, and I believe that. Um, but I've apologized over the years, and I'm not trying to to air all my stuff, but I'm not going to apologize every time I get a random message from some rabid person that insists on me making an apology, and they don't even have anything to do with the situation. So, but I have apologized to everybody that I can't apologize to for sure. But I do remember one instance that uh, messed me up, and still kind of messed me up. And I was in when Ryan got out, I was in administrative protective custody because I was forced to get in a bad fight with a gang leader, um, because of a really biased uh, Dateline show. And in my opinion, it was biased anyway. I guess I should say that. Um, and I'm in administrative protective custody. You know, staff's getting death threats that I'm gonna get killed basically, and Brian's out, and I want to do an interview I'm getting these interview requests, and I want to do an interview to explain all the stuff, to put my statements in the context and explain everything in a way that's fair to everybody and fair to me. And I'm being told, no, this, you just need to apologize, to only apologize, and otherwise you're gonna come off like an asshole, and this and that, and you need to only apologize, and this isn't about you, this is about Ryan, and Ryan's big for innocence and all these things, and I'm sitting in prison, like fighting for my life. Ryan's free. Um, and people know that we're both innocent. So that's the type of, mentality that I've had to deal with, and that's not acceptable to me. So and I haven't really been on like trying to change the narrative or anything like that, but I'm gonna make sure I'm treated fairly, uh, for sure. So this is probably my last attempt to do that. So I'm gonna try to do all this in one video, and I don't know how how easy that's gonna be. I haven't really learned how to splice videos yet. I haven't completely figured out my phone, but I guess just to start at the beginning, and I'm gonna try to make this as short as possible. But Ryan and I were at a club when I was 17, and uh, I want to interrupt myself for a second. Um, I'm not trying to like place any blame on anybody else, on anybody else, regardless of who I'm talking about. I'm just trying to put things into context because I accept blame for lying, and I was forced to lie. The police made me lie. The prosecutor made me lie. The state made me lie. You know, I felt like if I didn't lie, that I was going to be executed. And I'm putting that into context. I'm putting, my statements, the things I said into context. So, because if I'm gonna be blamed for this, I'm not taking all the blame for this. And you can't just say, oh, you're a bad dude or you're crazy or whatever, and then and talk about the things I did, but not put everything into context. Um, if that's how you feel, you're an idiot, and you're not going to get anything out of this video. So we went to the club when I was 17, and I didn't drive myself there. Um, they shouldn't have let us in the club. You had to be 21 to get in, and um, somebody got us in. They shouldn't have let us in. They shouldn't have served us drinks. I ran out of money pretty quickly. I asked people to take me home before I blacked out. I do remember that, and nobody would take me home. I blacked out. I did choose to drink to the point I didn't know I was going to black out. I did choose to drink uh, to the point that I blacked out and use drugs to the point that I blacked out. I should say, I don't even really know if I blacked out that night or if just nothing happened and there was nothing worth remembering. And, you, after 2 years, I couldn't remember if I blacked out or just, it was just, Ryan took me home. Regardless, he took me home and we're innocent, but do you see what I'm saying? There's a difference between a blackout and just not remembering because there's nothing worth remembering. So, regardless, I didn't remember leaving the club. I didn't remember going home. I woke up. I went to school the next day. Um, I didn't have any blood on me. I didn't think that I was involved in a murder. A man got killed down the street from the club. I did read about it in the paper, and I remember thinking it was crazy that somebody got murdered and so close to where I had been that night. Maybe not. Apparently we weren't even downtown when the man got killed. We weren't even downtown anymore. But it was crazy, and it could have been us that got murdered. And that's how I looked at it then, and I didn't think about it. Like I didn't think about that night. I didn't, worry about it. I didn't think that I'd been involved uh, in a murder, robbery, and I kind of just went on about my business. So after a couple years, um, I read about that this man had been killed, and when I was at work, and I got to trying to remember this night from 2 years before when we'd been at a party before we went to the club, and we had to run from the cops because the party got broken up, and I was trying to find a ride. That's where Ryan ended up seeing me and giving me a ride, and all this is this is a memory from this is a night from 2 years before, and it's all jumbled up because I was partying on that night. There'd been a lot of drugs and alcohol in the interim. When I'm trying to remember this stuff when I'm 19, um, was always smoking weed, and so I'm trying to for some I read this article about this guy getting killed, and the sketch, I thought, in my opinion, it looked. I mean, it could have probably been a lot of teenagers. It could. I thought that it could have been me. It could have been Ryan. Um, I knew I was with Ryan that night, and uh, I didn't know that the sketch was supposed to have blonde hair, and it was in black and white. And if I would have known that, I probably wouldn't have worried about it because I didn't have blonde hair, and I couldn't. I don't know if Ryan had blonde hair then or not, but uh, it, it got me thinking about that night, and I realized I was blacked out. I realized that we were in the area. Uh, yeah, at least on the night that this guy got killed, within a few blocks or whatever, and um, we kind of looked like the guy in the sketch, and I I, I couldn't remember. I'd been at a party with Dallas Mallory before I went downtown, and yeah, I thought, I knew that the party had gotten broke up, but I couldn't remember everything or the sequence of events, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't running around downtown, um, running from the police when this guy got killed, and I couldn't remember what happened where, and so uh, I didn't seek Ryan out. I didn't call him. I didn't go find him. He showed up at a party that I was at on New Year's Eve, 2 months after I read this article in the newspaper, and I didn't talk to him there. I was there, and I was doing cocaine, admittedly, with a friend of mine, and there the host of that party got irritated for us doing cocaine there because one of their roommates had a problem with cocaine in the past. And so we left that party and we went to another party, and Ryan happened to be there. And it was New Year's Eve. I was 19. I was drinking. I was doing cocaine, which I sometimes did when I drank. And I was cocaine makes you anxious. And the only times that I really seriously um, entertained the idea that there was a possibility, or worried that there was a possibility that I could have been involved in this murder robbery, um, was when I was drunk and high on cocaine. I don't know if that makes sense. So uh, I want to be clear here, and please pay attention, if you're paying attention to any of this. I asked Ryan to have a private conversation with me, and I couldn't remember what happened that night. I wanted to make sure I wasn't involved with this dude getting killed, and I asked him to go outside and smoke a cigarette. And I thought we were having a private conversation. There was nobody around, unless there was somebody hiding in a bush or on the side of the house. There was nobody who could have heard what I was asking him. And I wanted to make sure that I wasn't involved in this. And he said no. You know, um, I don't think he in my opinion, he didn't like take me seriously. And in hindsight, why would he? Because we're innocent. But at the time, because I was blacked out, I didn't really know how to take that. And I asked him again in what I thought was a private conversation, because I didn't think there were people near enough to hear what I was asking him. And again said no, and he's more adamant. Adamant. He said no, we didn't kill anybody. Um, so I left the party. I didn't talk to anybody else about what I talked to Ryan about, and I didn't think anybody else knew what I talked to Ryan about. And then and I'm not trying to drag Ryan or anybody into this, but I'm tired of, you know, seeing these things on the internet where people are talking about me and they're getting things wrong. So, uh, I left the party, thought that that conversation was just between us. And, but the next thing you knew, I had people at my college calling me a murderer, people I didn't know. Um, the police were looking at me in an obvious way. They didn't come talk to us, but they were looking at me, and so I thought that it was a possibility that Ryan was telling people that um, we that I killed this guy, or we killed the guy. I didn't know because I'd only talked to Ryan. So if you were blacked out and had a private conversation, what you thought was a private conversation with the person you were with that night, that you were blacked out when somebody was killed, and you only talk to them, and the next thing you know, people are going around saying you're a murderer. What would you think? Or what would you think was possible then? So I didn't know what was going on, and looking back on it now, knowing all the facts, there were in the police reports. The police reports indicated that a couple people, according to the police reports, a couple people said that Ryan said things to them at that party, or at another party that I think the date was wrong, um, and uh, so I don't know if Ryan did say anything to anybody else, or if the police made up the police reports, which apparently they can do, um, which I found out. But the uh, the police report stated that a couple high school girls we knew in high school said that one said that that Ryan told her that I thought I killed somebody but I didn't, and then there was another one that said that Ryan told a girl that incriminating things, and then apparently she recanted though, and said that the police made that up, so it's not. I don't I don't know what the final word was on that, but neither of them testified. Um, but my point is that according to the police reports, things were said when I left that party, and I didn't know what was said though. I didn't know if he was saying incriminating things or things that weren't incriminating. I didn't know, and um, so so that affected me. Um, and then I also know now that I didn't know at the time that somebody did call Crime Stoppers because of things that were said at that party that I thought were in a private conversation between me and Ryan. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know if somebody overheard it or somebody said something to somebody else. I don't know. I just know that at that point I'd only talked to Ryan. So I went 2 months, was still not knowing if I was involved in this and listening to gossip and things like that. And I asked a friend for advice because I didn't know what to do again when I was drunk and high on cocaine. And um, that friend, uh, who I thought was a friend, said something else to somebody else I knew who was supposed to be my friend. Um, and he called the police. That was on March 10th, 2004. And uh, that's when they came and brought us in. I do want to make a point here, and this is kind of like part of the reason I'm doing this. I did not call the police on us. People know who called the police. Well, we still don't know who called Crime Stoppers because it was anonymous, but it wasn't me, and I'm confident it wasn't Ryan. But somebody that was at that party or heard something that was said at that party called the police the first time, and the second time we know who called the police, and I know his name, and I've heard his voice, and I want to say his name, but I'm not. I don't know why. I'm not, but I should because he was supposed to be our friend, and he called the police, over, gossip and me not knowing if I was involved. And instead of coming and talking to us, he called the police on us, which to me, So, but I didn't call the police, and I shouldn't for to begin with. Like when I'm sitting in prison and they've got Dream Killer on Netflix, my mom should not have to call Netflix and say, "Hey, you have the voice of this dude that called the police on Ryan and Chuck, right? You have his voice, you have it on the movie, you're playing it when they're showing, my son, and your captions say that my son called the police, but that's absolutely false. And you know whose voice that is, and you know it's not Charles Erickson. Um, and Netflix changed it, so I don't really know if it was a captioning error or what. Um, but that my mom shouldn't have to do that. And then I get out of prison, and now this documentary Dream Killer is on Prime, and now the captions say, again, voice of Charles Erickson when they're playing this this phone recording of this dude that was our friend in high school who called the police on us. Um, and when it's not me. So I got to call Prime and get with the people who are associated with the people who made the movie, and I got to ask them to get the captions changed again. I don't know if this was done deliberately, but I mean it's like, hey, I falsely confessed. Hey, I implicated Ryan. Hey, I testified. And I was forced to lie, and got us both put in prison. Um, I accept the blame for that, but with their captions, whether it's intentional or not, they're saying that I called the police too. Like, so all this from the beginning is my fault. No, it's not. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I don't feel like it's my fault somebody called Crime Stoppers. I don't feel like it's my fault somebody called the police uh, uh, in March. I didn't call the police. I didn't know that this dude who was supposed to be my friend was going to say something to this other guy who was supposed to be my friend who was going to call the police. Um, I, I don't feel like it's my fault somebody called the police in January 2004. I'll tell you this: I definitely did not call the police. So if people are saying that, stop it, because that's. I mean, I probably ought to sue somebody over that. Like I don't know if I get anything, but it's absolutely false. So the police come and get us, and you guys have seen the interrogation. Um, I do want to say that they obviously forced me to say things that weren't true, um, and they told me, they said, "Hey, listen, if you don't say this, Ryan is going to put this on you." And I already thought that Ryan was putting it on me for 2 3 months uh, in society. So, you know, um, but I did say, a few times throughout, hey, I can't remember. I tried to say, hey, I can't remember. And then they said, well, hey, your head's on the chopping block. Ryan's going to try to get out of it. And you're the one that's going to be twisting the wind, and your head's on the chopping block, and this and that and the other. And, uh, but various times throughout that, and at the end of the interrogation, I said, hey, you need to ask Ryan. You need to ask Ryan what happened. I may have said, hey, you need to ask Dallas Mallory. I'm not trying to drag Dallas Mallory into this either, but since people are talking about me and getting shit wrong, we're gonna put it in the context, and that kind of ties into to to what I'll talk about later. Uh, I said you need to ask these people, and then they ended up booking us, and I couldn't remember anything. They knew that. The police knew that. They knew, hey, listen, this dude knows. All he knows is what he read in the newspaper and what we told him. They still charged us. Uh, I should have asked for a lawyer. I wish I would have asked for a lawyer. We probably wouldn't have gone to jail. Um, wish I would have been, you know, brave enough throughout to say, hey, I don't remember. If I should have said, I don't remember going home. I want a lawyer. Wish I would have done it. Sorry to everybody it affected. I tried. Watched the whole video. I tried. They booked us anyway. Then I get to jail, which I'll get to in a second. So after we were arrested, we got put in jail, and uh, we uh, we were separated, but Ryan and I were in tanks that were next to each other, and there was glass between us. And I did try to talk to Ryan to get an understanding, to help figure out, what was going on. And, he didn't, I'm sure his lawyers told him not to talk to me. We were probably next door to each other for a year. And, Ryan had a year if he wanted to get with me and explain. I think Ryan did try to talk to me once. I know you're thinking there's glass in between you, but there was a vent and there was a way to communicate. Even because there was glass and you could see each other and you could communicate through the vent or the window, even though we were separated. Um, I think he did try to talk to me once, but I can't remember when it was. And after a year, I took a plea agreement, and I can't remember when he tried to talk to me, but at one point he was in the hallway, and he wasn't mad or anything, and he was just like, "Dude, we're innocent," and depending on where I was with my plea agreement and with the information I was being fed, um, I mean that I wouldn't have known how to take that. I mean, I might have looked at it like, well, maybe he's just saying that because he doesn't, you know, want me to take a plea. Maybe we're innocent. Maybe if I don't take a plea, he's going to take a plea. I had inmates saying that he was going to take a plea against me. So, um, it was just a messed up situation. And but I did try to talk to him, and he tried to talk to me once, and they keep co-defendants separated for that reason. So, they can't communicate, and when it turns out people are innocent, uh, that that results in bad things happening. Um, I had a plea, and uh, Ryan could have said anything to me. I mean, unless he could have proved to me that we were innocent, which, I mean, that seems to have been done now, but it was hard to do. It would have been hard to do. And after I took a plea, and I'll get to all this in a second, but after I took a plea, I'm not sure at that time there was anything he would have been able to say to me that would have got me to not take a plea agreement. So we're in jail, and we get what's called a discovery. And a discovery is police reports, um, and evidence that the defendant gets. And in the jail I was in, they give you discovery. And when I get this discovery, there's a police report that is saying that a girl that was at this New Year's party with us, though the date is wrong. The date said that it was a Halloween party, but I hadn't asked anybody about that night on Halloween of 2003, so it had to have been referring to the New Year's party. There's this police report that says that this girl we were at this party with said that Ryan, and I'm not going to name her, but they said that the police report said that she said that Ryan basically confessed to her. And I'm looking at it like, and if if you would have seen through this, then good for you, good for you, because I looked at it like a police report is an official document. I'd never been to jail. I'd never been given police reports, so I didn't know the police could make things up, or whatever happened with this incident. Um, I looked at it like an official document. I didn't think the police were going to lie and do all these things. I'd started to experience that a little bit when I was in interrogation. Interrogation was a lot, uh, to digest. I was probably still digesting it. I'm still digesting it, but um, I didn't have a reason to think that the police would make this up, or whatever else. So to me, somebody that was blacked out on the night in question, and then I know that I asked Ryan if we did this on New Year's, and he told me no.
But there's a girl that was at the party with us. You know, the police report said that a girl that was at the party with us that I know was there, um, said that he confessed to her. So that didn't make me think I was innocent. Um, and then there's a guy who I am going to name. His name was Richard Walker, and he was a bank robber. I'm not going to say allegedly because it's pretty clear he's a bank robber. But he had, he was a mess, and he was in Ryan's tank first, and we were right next door to each other. Like I said, there's glass so we could see each other. And I'm not blaming Ryan, but for not talking to me. He probably thought he'd get in trouble for talking to me. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I did knock on the window and try to talk to him once. But anyhow, um, Richard Walker was in Ryan's tank, and uh, we were right next door. So Richard Walker flipped out and was going to do some crazy stuff, and somebody told on him because that happens in jail. And so they moved him to my tank. They kept him in his cell. But Richard Walker, I guess, I when they moved Richard Walker in my tank, I hadn't taken a plea agreement yet. But Richard Walker, uh, tells me he'd read about my statements in the paper, and I guess he thought I was taking responsibility for this. He read what the police, divulged to the public, which I feel like if they would have played that interrogation video for everybody out the gate, people would have said, "Well, that's not a confession." Anyhow, so Richard Walker, he'd read my statements to the to the police in the paper, however they were conveyed, and he thought I was taking responsibility. And he said to me, he's like, you know what, man, these guys in here aren't your friends, and you're doing the right thing, and you guys killed that guy. And if it was my father that got killed, I would want to know uh, who killed him. And you're doing the right thing, and don't listen to these dudes in here. And he tells me that he was in the tank with Ryan, and I'd known that already. But he said, hey, listen, Ryan, you need to worry about yourself because Ryan's going to do whatever he has to do to get out of it. And he tells me that Ryan said that he dropped me off, and I by the time that he got to the scene, that the guy was already dead. And so Richard Walker's basically saying that Ryan's blaming me for this murder robbery, and uh, is going to is gonna testify against me if I don't testify against him, or he's gonna take a plea or blame me if I don't blame him or whatever. And uh, that's coming from an inmate, and you don't when you're locked in a box, that's all the input you have. You have the inmates, you have your family, you have your lawyer, you have the police, and I guess the TV when you're allowed to watch it. And so this is right around. This is end up taking a plea agreement after I talk to this guy, and but before I take a plea agreement, I tell my lawyer about what this guy Richard Walker tells me. So my lawyer tells me, "Oh, that motherfucker, Richard Walker. Well, he just made a statement to the prosecutor against Ryan, and I read the statement, and he was basically saying that Ryan um, said incriminating things to him, and none of this was true. It turns out none of this was true, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I was thinking like, why would this guy say this to me? Then why would this guy make a statement to the police? I didn't know any of this wasn't true. Um, it, Mainly because I was blacked out or couldn't remember going home on the night in question, and these people who made these statements, Richard Walker and this other person, or the police said that she said this. Um, the girl, she told Ryan's investigators, "Hey, I never said that to the police." Well, when I was in jail, nobody told me. When I'm waiting to take a plea agreement, nobody told me. The prosecutors and the investigators, they told me these people were going to testify. I think they said Richard Walker seemed nuts This was later after I took a plea, so he was going to testify. But the high school girl, yeah, she was supposed to testify according to the prosecutor. But they had already, Richard Walker had already said none of that was true. He was trying to get something out of it. I don't know. I found out people do that a lot. They lie to try to get something out of it when they're in jail. At the time, I didn't know that. Um, this girl that we went to high school with, she said the police made this statement up. So, and they said this when I was in jail still. But hey, guess what? I was never given this information. So either nobody gave it to my lawyer or my lawyer never gave it to me. But I didn't know that these people who had helped convince me, or the police reports and these people had helped convince me, um, that I was involved in this and that Ryan was going to blame me for this murder. Uh, these things weren't true, and I didn't know it until well after I was in prison, after I had testified against Ryan. Dallas Mallory. I don't I don't like bringing Dallas Mallory up. Um, I'm sure he's a good dude, but uh, the police report said that he said that he saw us fleeing the scene, or at least me. I can't remember exactly what he said, and that I told him that I killed somebody, or at least hurt somebody bad, and that this is what the police report said. And so this is a person I knew I saw that night at some point, at least at the party, before we went to the club, and I was already confused about where I saw him, or if I tried to get in his car, or if I was running from the police, or whatever, because the police had broken up the first party we were at. Anyhow, um, well, the police report said that he said that he saw me at least, and I think the police report said that he saw Ryan, and too, I can't remember, and that I told him that I heard somebody, and I think the police report even said that Dallas was saying I had something in my hand. Well, so I'm reading these things in jail. I'm reading. These are the police reports I'm giving. This is the evidence that I'm giving. And Dallas Mallory later is like, I didn't say that, or the police made me say that, and they wouldn't let me out of the room, and they were talking about charging me with murder and all these things unless I said what they wanted to hear. And I've read two different things, so I apologize if I got that wrong. But Dallas is basically like, this isn't true. I didn't see those dudes. They didn't kill that guy. And I didn't know that when I was in jail. So I'm thinking this guy's gonna get on the stand at Ryan's trial. And when you're in jail, this is basically how it works. You have a trial date, and you either go to trial and you're acquitted, or you're found guilty. And at the time, I mean, the prosecutor, there was some stuff in limbo in the courts, but the prosecutor was kind of like, hey, I may seek the death penalty for this if I can. He made that, this was published. These were quotes in the newspaper. And when you're in jail, it's like you can either take a plea agreement and cooperate, and get a reduced sentence, or you go to trial and you risk everything. And from the way that I saw it, it seemed like people were saying Ryan confessed. It seemed like people were saying that, and it seemed like people were saying Ryan confessed in society. It seemed like people were saying Ryan confessed in jail. I had an inmate tell me that he was going to put everything on me. That inmate made a statement to the prosecutor. That inmate was in Ryan's tank and then was put in my tank. It seemed like people that we knew from high school were saying they saw us fleeing the scene. And then that doesn't even include, later Jerry Trump puts us at the scene. And here I am blacked out and can't remember anything, I tried to talk to Ryan in society. I tried to talk to him in jail. I'm not blaming him or trying to drag him into this, but like I tried. I did try, and I was forced to lie because the police were I was forced to lie because I was convinced that I was going to get the death penalty or never get out of prison. if I didn't say that Ryan was involved in this murder. Um, so, uh, that's kind of a lot of what I wanted to say. If you can't understand that, if you can't empathize with me as a human being, if you think I'm a bad guy or that I shouldn't have explained that, you there's something wrong with you, like straight up. You're I don't know what the deal is, but you could make your own YouTube video, I guess. Please don't uh message me. I'm not trying to argue about it. Um, I'm just trying to put everything into context. These are facts. You can look them up. Um, I want to touch on one other thing. So, some random person like Googled my name and told me about True Crime Garage, which I've never listened to. I work like 60 hours a week. I don't know. I'm trying to build a life. I work a lot. You know, I'm trying to meet people and be successful, and so I don't have time for all this shit. Like I shouldn't have to deal with this shit. Uh, True Crime Garage. Okay, was actually I'm not gonna say only because they do seem like smart guys, but Maggie Frayling was involved in it. Shout out to Maggie. I appreciate you advocating for me. Um, I appreciate you mentioning some of the stuff I mentioned about, hey, listen, the police reports said that there were people saying that Ryan confessed. Nobody really wants no. I'm not gonna say nobody has really mentioned. There was actually an inmate that told me that Ryan confessed. His name was Richard Walker. There's actually an inmate who told me that. Then that same inmate made a statement to the prosecutors against Ryan. That inmate told me that Ryan was going to turn state's evidence on me. All right, I didn't know that that was bullshit. But thank you, Maggie, for mentioning those things. Thank you, Maggie, for not jumping on the bandwagon of people that's seem to be accusing Mike Boyd of this murder. I don't even want to mention his name because I'm confident that he's innocent, and for anybody that's accusing him, I just highly suggest you look at other people. So True Crime Garage. Before I forget, I don't really understand. It seemed like you guys did this 10-minute clip from this 2009 statement I did with Kathleen Zellner, and you seem to argue throughout your podcast that I'm innocent, and you seem to believe that I was just trying to help Ryan with that statement. So I don't, it's just really irksome to me. I don't really see why. Maybe you ran out of other things to talk about, or maybe I declined to do an interview with you when I was in jail. I can't remember, but it just seemed like it seemed to me like it was just sensationalist bullshit. I don't, it made me want to call your show True Crime Garbage instead of True Crime Garage, and I don't like that because it seems like you guys are nice and smart. I'm just fed up, man, with uh with people, doing stuff like that. So that's kind of how I feel about that, and really just for anybody who feels like, and this is in general, that I shouldn't talk about my situation or my case when I'm being treated unfairly, um, or when I'm trying to correct things or put things into context. Kiss my ass. I'm a human being. You can't ask somebody just to just to shut up when people are talking about you, especially like at a national level. Uh, so I'm gonna hopefully this is the last time I have to do a video like this. But um, if you do uh like a if you publish something about me, make sure your shit's right. Because at the least I'm gonna tell you it's wrong. I may end up suing people. I'm tired of this shit, straight up. Um, that's really about it. Uh, if you listen to this whole thing, I appreciate it. Um, I'm really past this shit. Uh, I didn't I didn't do interviews in prison until 2013 when I was forced to get in a fight with a gang leader because of a biased Dateline show, and then he was put in administrative protective custody after I was forced to fight this dude and was told there were hits put out on me. I never did an interview until then, and so I didn't do interviews except to put things into context. Then I didn't do interviews except to kind of put on blast lawyers I had, which Landon Magnuson, I love you. I'm not talking about you. Uh, but yeah, at certain times before I had Landon, I had lawyers I didn't feel like were treating me well, and I had to put them on blast by doing interviews. Or if I was in court, I thought it wasn't a bad idea for the public to know my plight. So I did interviews then. Uh, but I really I shouldn't have to do this. I've explained this. I've done interviews where I've explained this stuff and it gets cut out or whatever else. Um, I work a lot. All I want to say, hey, listen, I'm not on medication. I'm not crazy. I'm not in therapy. I tried that shit for a couple years when I was in jail, and I've got OCD. It's diagnosed. I'm always gonna have it. People with OCD always have it. I manage it well. I have my own apartment. I've only been out, a little over 6 months. I have a good job. I have health insurance. I pay my bills. I manage all my relationships. Um, I'm not in therapy. I'm not on medication. You when I took medication in jail, it didn't help me at all. Um, but I'm not crazy. A lot of people think I'm crazy. I'm not. I was going to college and working 30 hours a week when I was arrested. I finished college on my own by myself. Got a BA from Ohio University when I was in prison. 3.7 GPA. Trained dogs. Kept a job. Got a job as soon as I got out of prison. I'm on parole. I'm walking the line. I'm sober. I know I have an addictive personality. I drink coffee. That's it. Um, but I'm trying. I'm working hard. I'm trying to. I'm at the beginning of a solid career out here. I'm trying to find a good woman and start a relationship, and it's hard enough to do that out here. All that stuff, and then I got random people Google me, and this shit pops up. So like I'm tired of it. I'm even if it's old and I haven't seen it yet, it just brings shit back up. It's like most of y'all don't even give a fuck about me. You know, People that have done things on this case, you're trying to make money. You're trying to make money. You don't give a fuck about me. I don't feel like you do. In my opinion, you don't give a fuck about me or about what happened or whatever. You know. So I'm not on here to grandstand. I'm not on here. I don't. You know. I feel like I'm innocent. A lot of people do. I'm not on here to talk about my case or toot my own horn. Um, you know. That being said, you know, there does seem to be a lot of opportunism in the innocence movement. There do seem to be a lot of people making money, trying to make money off the innocence movement. And I'm not even really talking about the exonerees. I mean, I don't understand. Why you have. Why I don't understand why there seem to be some people who seem to be like ambassadors or whatever that did a few years in prison. That are rich now. Or like I've been in prison. Prison's a majority black people. I've been to an innocence conference. Most exonerees are older black men. You know, so you know, there's hypocrisy. If I feel like if there's a person of interest, you better explain that shit and put that shit into context. If you're bitching about wrongful convictions and false accusations, you better be careful. How you sling them. Um, I feel that. I feel there's not enough emphasis on the drug war. Um, and the drug war has messed up this country, has messed up other countries. We're putting people in prison for drugs. That's why we still have ghettos and gangs, and it leads to racism and discrimination and all that other shit that I've talked about before. But so I mentioned that because that's what I'm passionate about, what I care about, and I feel like a lot of y'all are faking. I feel like a lot of y'all are faking, and I'm just on here to keep it real and make sure I'm treated fairly. That's it. So, if you don't like what I have to say, kiss my ass. Otherwise, thanks for the support. Have a nice day.